Hi, I am Fred from therequirementsengineer.com. In this video, I show you how to rename a file in drawio. You will learn the exact rename workflow in the editor. And you will also learn how to change the file type during the same process. If you like practical tutorials about modeling and requirements engineering, please subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss the next videos. What is drawio? Drawio, also known as diagrams.net, is a free diagramming tool. I use it for flowcharts, BPMN diagrams, UML diagrams, and many other visuals. You can use it in the browser or you can use the desktop app. I will use the browser version in this tutorial. Drawio is simple to start with. However, it still offers many useful features for daily diagram work. One small feature is renaming files directly from inside the editor. Why rename files in drawio? I rename files in drawio to stay organized. A clear file name helps me find the right diagram faster, so I waste less time searching. I also reduce the risk of opening the wrong file. Renaming also helps when I share diagrams with others. A descriptive name makes the purpose easier to understand. And if I export later, a clean base name keeps my files more consistent. Step 1. I take a first look. Before I rename anything, I check the current file name. You can usually see it at the top in the Browser tab or title bar. This is useful because I want to confirm which file I am changing before I continue. In the File menu, I choose Rename. This opens the rename workflow inside drawio. I click it, and in step 3, a dialog appears. Here I can edit the current file name directly. I click into the file name field. Then I select the old name. It was selected by default here. At this point, I focus on clarity. I keep the name short, but I also make it meaningful. Step 4. I change the file name. Now I type the new name. I avoid vague names like diagram final, final, really final, or test 2. Instead, I use names that tell me what the diagram is about. Good examples are user-registration-bpmn or system context diagram in camel cases or incident-flow-v3. I prefer hyphens or camel cases instead of random spaces or special characters. That keeps the name clean and easy to read. Step 5. I check the type dropdown. In my dialog, I also see a type dropdown. This is useful because I rename the file and adjust the file type at the same time. For example, I can choose XML file, this is a .drawio file extension, editable bitmap image, this is a .png extension, editable vector image, this is a .svg extension, or .html extension. So let me explain this quickly. If I want the best editing compatibility, I choose .drawio. This keeps the file as a normal diagram file. If I want an image for sharing, I can choose PNG or SVG. In many cases, draw.io can still keep the diagram data inside these files. So I may be able to reopen and edit them later. If I want a file that opens in a browser, I can choose HTML. That can be useful for sharing or reviewing in some workflows. Important note: your exact options can depend on your setup and where the file is stored. So, if you do not see the same type drop down, you can still use export options later from the file menu. I stay with .drawio. Thus, in step 6, I confirm the rename, and finally I click Save in the dialog. Now drawio updates the file name. And after that, I can see the new file name at the top. So I know the rename worked. Here, a few simple tips I use to avoid problems continuing the naming strategy. I do not use final as a naming strategy. Instead, I use version labels like V1 or V2 or V3. I also keep the same base name across related fields. For example, order-process.drawio, order-process.png, order-process.svg. That makes everything easier to find later. And if I need more control over output formats, I use file, then export as. So this is how I rename a file in drawio. First, I check the current file name. Then I click File. Next, I click Rename. After that, I enter the new file name. Then I check the type dropdown if I want a different file format. And finally, I click Save. If this video helped, please like it and subscribe for more drawio tutorials. Also tell me in the comments, do you usually keep your diagrams as .drawio files, or do you often switch to PNG, SVG or HTML? Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.